Good morning, everyone. My name is Elsa Caleb, and welcome to this morning's webinar. Well, I'll introduce to you the Business Model Canvas. It's the most popular strategic management and entrepreneurial tool that's currently used by startups. The tool can be used to elevate your current business model and to launch new products and services and for selling online. Brandwin is the organization that I represent as a business advisor. And we've had over 6,000 businesses that have benefited from various programs, which has led to expansion and job creation. Now, Brandwin is a single source of support. We're all made up of generalists and specialists, and that could be from marketing, sales, project management, bids and tenders, IT, accountancy, finance, etc. It goes on. That's just name a few. Whatever you as a business owner needs for your business, Brandwin is here to help. Our contracts are usually through third party. And as you see, the local authorities and the local councils, chambers, they actually know the areas of businesses that need support. And they identify the funding and we deliver the relevant services that meets the business needs. We're all experienced advisors and we run our own businesses. And we've all gone through the due diligence process and we know the landscape in which we work in. So a bit about me, which is interesting. So I'm fortunate that I've enjoyed developing businesses for over 30 years. I've been running my business now for over 20. I've worked with a wide range of industries and I've known for increasing the bottom line. I've enjoyed consulting with, organizations such as Startup Loans, the British Business Bank, and advising being an advisor within government as well. My passion is simply about running a business, okay, and developing businesses. Okay, so today's agenda is to, as I said, is to embrace the business model canvas strategically and inevitably. So instead of thinking about a traditional business plan that has reams of pages, I'd like you to focus on developing a one-page strategic plan that will enable you to spend more time in your business. As you see, I will introduce you to the model, then explore the framework. You'll have the opportunity to start to develop your own bespoke business model canvas and get a feel as to how you can save a lot of time. Okay. So the business model canvas, which is ideal if you have a new idea, or if you have something in place already and to wish to check, or even if you want to change it. Okay, the template is to create a new model or to adapt a structure for your organization. And as I say, for a new idea and also to pivot. Yeah. It's an ideal tool that you can use to evaluate where you are now and where you're going to be by developing a realistic strategy. Okay, so the right side of the framework focuses on the customer, which is outward looking. And the left side, interesting, focuses on the business. In other words, what we need to do is, what we really need to do is to actually bring the two together. And what is interesting is when they do come together, you'll see it's the value proposition that actually brings them together, which is an exchange of value between your business and your customers, which is, your clients, okay? Okay. The business needs to be looked in 4 different lenses. Okay, you've got desirability. Do you have a product or service that is desirable to customers? There are times that you may see or experience something that you suddenly think, that's a good idea. Have you done the research? Have you tested the market? Do you know if there's a demand for what you want? Especially if you want to offer something that's different. Numerous times people want to start a business because of personal experience. Also, you usually hear that it must be a good idea because no one's done it yet. There can be a reason why it hasn't been done. Okay, let's look at the feasibility side of things. Is it feasible? Do you have the skills, the experience, the partnerships, or even technology to make it happen? Can you build it Can you deliver it or make it happen? Okay, let's just cross over now to viability. Is it viable? Can you make enough money to cover your cost and still make a profit? And then lastly, adaptability. Can you adapt what you offer to the needs of your customers? Can you compete? Here I'd like to look closely at your unique selling proposition or a sustainable advantage. For example, you've invented something that the market needs immediately. I mean, like take, for example, Zoom. The firm's sales in the last 3 months of 2020 were at 370% compared to the same period in 2029, hitting $882.5 million. What is interesting about these lenses is that if you're a startup business, you could start the business on maybe 3 of the lenses, okay? But to tell you the truth, it won't be sustainable, it won't survive, not at all. It definitely needs all 4 lenses for the actual business to be sustainable. So by using this model, it will help you to go from gut-based to evidence-based ideal. At the end of the day, this is realistic. As I say, trying to do it with 3 lenses, it won't work. It's not sustainable. Seriously consider the 4 lenses when you're actually putting together your business model canvas. Okay, so let's look at the canvas itself. There are 9 building blocks, and I'm going to start with number 1, customer segments. Who are your customers? Are they split into groups, sectors, specialized markets? What are the demographics? Can you actually break that down so you know exactly who your customers are? Okay, let's jump over to value proposition. What is the value you deliver to your customer? What is the customer need that your value proposition addresses? The ease with which the customer can find and buy the product. It's the customer experience. Do you offer product quality? Do you deliver clear values? You will need a trustworthy brand image. I mean, especially if you're going to be working online, on your online platforms, your websites and social media. Ensure that everything is standardized from start to finish. Okay, your revenue streams, the way you earn money from the various segments or various income streams. Ensure that you make a profit. Which products are more profitable than others? Would there be more traffic on social media or more on platforms such as Shopify? Consider direct sales, advertising, renting. You could even think of subscriptions, licenses, commissions, fee-based. Work out which ones are more profitable, about even considering things like consulting fees. These are all income streams that you could actually be considering with your business. Let's quickly look at the channels. What channel will you use? Will it be an online shop, marketplaces like Amazon, social media platforms that you can sell your products, Shopify, Facebook, Instagram, depending on where the customers shop? Online sales channels is also another area to consider. What about omni-channel? Omni-channel. It's an approach for the business. It's a multi-channel approach that is a seamless and effortless, high quality. It's a customer experience, whether shopping online or from a laptop, mobile, or a shop. It should be seamless regardless. You've got to make it as easy as you can for the customer. What about partner networks, social networks, advertising via the media, reviews, ratings, brands, all different types of communication channels? Customer relationships. How will you relate with each customer group? How will you engage and interact with your customers to improve the customer experience, whether it's online or even email? Try to encourage loyalty throughout your customer service. Customize assistance, depending on what you offer. I mean, make it tailor-made assistance. so that it actually works well for the customer. There are like helpful materials that you can consider, like tutorials and videos, guides. And what about customer communities where information and resources are shared amongst members? Now, looking closely at the key activities, what should you do to achieve your value proposition along with your company objectives? Because you've got to make sure that they match. Consider increasing productivity. You could even try to improve your positioning in Google. Consider having a presence on various online marketplaces. Introduce your products on a regular basis to stay ahead of the competition and also not to be stale. Yeah. Improve your customer satisfaction. You can even consider automating catalog management, increase distribution, and at the same time, reduce cost. Okay. Other key activities could be e-commerce, strengthening your product information, improving the shopping experience, improve the quality or the value of products. Try to stand out on all channels for your customers and your buyers. This will help to increase sales. Okay, key resources. So what are the key resources you need to deliver your value proposition? In other words, what do you need to just to make things happen? I mean, okay, we've got the human resources, staffing, and it's whether or not you use trained staff or you use the resources to train them. You see what I mean? So you could either bring in as experts or just train your current staff at the moment. Other resources like vehicles, transportation, storage, intellectual resources such as intellectual property, copyrights, office, shops, buildings, if we still use them, finances, technology and hardware. Sorry, technology as in hardware and software, the right management software, and to ensure that you test them first. It's also looking at problem-solving skills and your development skills. These are all, areas that you can actually, put under the key resources tab. Okay, key partners. Who are they? Now, these partners can be suppliers, associates, accountants. It could be a relationship that you have with other businesses. Joint partnership. Retail partners. Consider your geographical reach. Look at your distribution partners, like such as warehouses that target, large retail chains. Also include your suppliers, your supply chain, the providers, distributors, manufacturers. What about your app developers? They all come under this category. Hardware experts, user experience and interaction designers, okay, data engineers, or even software engineers. They're all key partners that you can bring on board. And then don't forget the cost structure. What are the important costs you make to deliver your value proposition? And here we're looking at fixed and variable costs. Is the focus value for money, or is it to reduce the costs? Is it more cost effective to bring newly qualified staff, or is it more cost effective to train your current staff? I've mentioned that earlier. And consider the e-commerce ongoing maintenance costs. Also think of things like the cost of the stock to keep up with the demand at the same time, because what you don't want to do is to run out of stock when you're quite popular. Also consider things like the cost of full-time staff as opposed to part-time staff and contractors, and also things like cloud services. Okay, so they're the 9 building blocks that I wanted to show you. But there's a desirability, the feasibility side of it, and also the viability side. Okay, so that's how they actually split them up in those 3 areas. Okay, let me just take a canvas and let's just go through it. Okay, so I'm going to look at Uber as an example. We know that Uber is a multi-billion-pound business. Their entire business can be explained on one single sheet of paper, which is great. And it actually demonstrates that how you as a business owner can do the same. Now, the gray shaded areas relate to the customers, okay, and the green areas relate to the drivers. Okay, so let's look at the customer segment. Okay, the riders, the people who need the ride. I mean, that's us. Okay, and then you've got the drivers, the people who want to earn money driving. And then looking closely at the value proposition, they thought through how the customers would benefit. It's a platform to connect riders to drivers. In other words, anytime, anywhere. And they've actually made it the easiest way around. So just to make it an easy experience for the customer. It's a low-cost luxury, and they offer various levels of services. So the green areas allows the drivers to earn money when they want. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite a flexible approach. Looking at the revenue streams, there's two simple areas. They charge by the mile, etc., when traveling to airports, and the prices increase when it's actually long distance, and at prime times and at weekends, etc. So the prices do vary. So that's something to think about, depending what kind of business you're actually running. Looking at the channel side, now, this is interesting because both the customer and the driver uses an app to connect. So, and it's also quite smooth and it's quite easy to use. So they really did think through the customer experience when they were putting this together. Under customer relationships, it has a clear rating system. And what an ideal way to evaluate your business. Let people rate it there and then. It's clear, it's simple, and it's not cumbersome. Okay, key activities include a platform development and maintenance. We're looking at marketing, the ads, the hiring of drivers, and the key operations. Okay, and then looking at the key resources, it's a tech platform. I mean, that is key. You've got the driver, and I suppose the driver network, the talented employees and their brand. A lot of money was spent in this particular area because it was really key that they got this right. And then at their key partners, you've got the payment processors. They take money in different forms to accommodate, in some cases, the different currencies. Their map tech, the companies are critical to their success. You can actually see how far the car is from where you're actually situated, as a customer. And also what's interesting are the investors. They are key to the success of this business, especially to keep up with the demand. Okay. And then lastly, the cost structure. It's important that the staffing costs are covered, the payouts to drivers, any legal fees, and we know that they've been quite popular. So the legal fees are important to have that in place, marketing and advertising, and not to forget, as I say, the technical platform, the cost there. So that's Uber on one sheet of paper, and you're able to describe it at a glance, and quite straightforward. Yeah, I think it's a very, very straightforward approach. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is, there's going to be an area now, and I'm going to put it over to you. It's about looking at the 9 building blocks, the ones that I've just gone through very quickly, but I'll remind you of them as we go along. I'm going to give you an average of, I say 2 to 3 minutes each. It just depends, as I look on the clock now. You need a notebook or a blank canvas or a piece of paper. And then what we're going to do is for you to go through each 9 building blocks. So a sheet of paper for each would be easier. As I say, I'll go through the guidelines on the screen and we'll follow through on the slides for you to assess your own model canvas at the end. So if you can kindly get a sheet of paper, and then let's begin. Okay, so let's look at your customer segments. Okay, different groups of people, as I mentioned earlier, organizations your enterprise aims to reach and serve. So if you're not used to actually breaking down your customer segments, now's the time to think it through. Okay, so your customers comprise, and it's important that you get this right because that's the heart of the business. Okay, we're looking for profitable customers to ensure your company can survive long term. Okay, your business model canvas, and as you can read here, and may have several or comprising of small and large customers. So think that through as well. You must have make a conscious decision about which segments to serve and which segments to ignore. So you can't always be, looking after everybody. You have to identify who your customers are. And once that decision's been made, then you can carefully start going through the canvas and making it work. Let's design it around a strong understanding of specific customer needs and the jobs that need to be done. All right. And the customer groups may represent separate segments. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes now for you to put this together on your business model canvas. So 2 minutes on customer segments. Don't forget that your customers are precious. Okay, ensure, as I said, that they're profitable. And think through, you could be thinking about business to business, you could be thinking about business to consumer, or you can be looking at various business to various groups. Be confident about the kind of customers that you're actually going to embrace. Be clear as to who they are. Make sure you get to know them well so you know how they operate. What's interesting is that there's some businesses that actually take the time out to get to know their customers on a personal level. So they know when their birthdays are, they send them birthday cards and even flowers. So I'm not saying that you do that to all your customers, but it's just nice to maintain and develop that relationship. Okay. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds before we move on. Okay, so who are we creating value? Who are our most important customers, clients, or users? Okay. Okay, let's kindly move on onto our next segment. Now let's look closely at the value proposition. What is the value you deliver to your customers? Okay. Which one of the customer problems are you helping to solve? What bundles of products and services are you offering to each segment? And these can be measured either quantitative or qualitative. What must you do to get the job done? Okay. Let's just look quickly at the questions that I'm asking you here to answer. What value do you deliver to your customers, as I said? Which one of your customer problems are you helping to solve? Which jobs are you helping the customer to get done? Or which customer needs are we satisfying? And what bundles of products and services are we offering to each customer segment? Okay, we've listed some of the areas here. So I'll give you 2 minutes now just jot down a few areas for your value proposition. Okay. The true value relates to the concepts of reliability and validity. In other words, being real. What value do we deliver to the customer? Risk reduction is very important. Accessibility, the convenience, usability, the fact that it's new is great, but does it work? Does it perform well? Is it reliable? The design can look great. Is the brand something that they can relate to? Remember, your creating value for a customer. Which one of the problems are you solving? And which job are you helping the customer to get done? And are you actually satisfying the needs of the customer? This is where you really focus on the customer. Okay, thank you. Let's just move on to the next section, revenue streams. Okay, the customers are the hearts of the business model, as we've always said. And they say that the revenue streams are the arteries. I suppose it gives it life. Yeah, money does give business life. Ask yourself, at what value is each customer segment truly willing to pay? Okay. Some people tend to test the market before they actually start the business. So perhaps this is something you may want to consider. And it says here, a business model can involve transactional revenues resulting from one-time customer payments, such as sales, or reoccurring revenues, like subscriptions or a contract. Here, I'd like you to look at the questions. For what value, okay, are our customers really willing to pay? How would they prefer to pay? And it's whether or not you've got the systems in place to actually make sure that it works smoothly. And how much does each revenue stream contribute to overall revenue in terms of percentage of the total? So I'll give you 2 minutes now just to drop those down on your third sheet of paper. I'm a firm believer that each business should have at least 3 to 4 revenue streams to actually accommodate and sort out the cash flow problem that you can have in any business. So don't just think that you need one product. Think of different ways that you could actually bring in various streams of income. Okay. There was one business that I actually assisted, a bakery offering various products. Okay, and although you'll think, okay, a bakery could just buy and sell, they started to deliver training courses for the local groups. So individuals could actually learn how to bake. They actually produced a cookery book and they did talks and demonstrations. So think through all the different income streams that you could do online, okay? And as whether or not you do webinars to support them, you have a book or a speaking section to your business as well. So think through the revenue streams. What value are your customers willing to pay? Make sure that, as I say, it's easy for the customers to pay. So you need to make sure that whatever system you have online, whether it is online, that it's reliable, that it actually helps to capture all the data and the information that you need, and to ensure that the customer receives a receipt for the transactions, that it's not clunky and they lose connection or anything like that. Okay. Okay, let's move swiftly on to the next one. The channels. Okay. What channels do you currently use to reach your customers? Okay. Your channels describe how your company communicates with and reaches your customer segments to deliver your value proposition. So your own direct channels. Now these can be in-house sales force or website or chain of retail stores if that's where you're at. Higher margins, they are higher margins that can be costly to be put in place and to operate. Then you can also work closely with your partners or other people that you can work alongside, collaboratively. So your partner indirect channels, such as wholesale distributions, retail, franchising, and licensing, they are slightly lower margins for you, but allow rapid expansion and benefit from partner strength. So look at the various channels that you could use to actually get your business out there. So what channels do you currently use? Website, social media, emails, etc. Okay, let me give you 2 minutes now to start putting that together. Before, let me just bring up the questions. So we're looking at through which channel do our customer segments want to be reached? How are we reaching them now? How are the channels integrated? Which ones works best? Which ones are most cost effective? And how are we integrating them with customer routines? Yeah. So it's a good time to reassess what you currently do, or even look at the things you think you want to do, but look at them a lot closer. Okay. Which channels do our customer segments want to be reached? How are we reaching them? Is it just emails? Is it just social media, Instagram, Facebook? Can you think of other channels that you could be using? And take it into account the actual demographics of your customers. I mean, how do they like to be reached? Do the more mature prefer the old-fashioned way of being reached, or do they have to conform with technology? Or are you a more younger market that loves technology and happy to go online all the time? Okay, just think through each channel for each customer segment. Don't try and put them all in one box and say that's the answer to all of them. And that's the way it's going to be, because you'll find that you'll lose customers that way. Try and tailor make it to your customers. Okay, let's just move on slightly. Okay, the customer relationship. The customer relations describe the types of relationships your company establishes to retain specific customer segments. So the types of customer relationships here are transactional, long-term, strategic, personal assistance, dedicated personal assistance. And then you've got your self-service, your automated services, communities, your co-creation, collaboration, and your switching costs. Yeah, okay. The questions that I'd like to ask you here are: what type of relationships does each of your customer segments expect? In other words, to establish and for you to establish and maintain with them. Okay, which ones can we establish to retain our customer segments? How costly are they? How are they integrated with the rest of your business model? Okay, so customer relationships are key. Let me give you 2 minutes now to start jotting down these areas. How do you retain your customers? Now, you could be thinking of loyalty cards, discounts. How do you keep them? How do you grow their relationships? In other words, how can you relate to them? Do you, relate to them on a regular basis, like drop them newsletters? How do you keep in contact with them? Do it by email? How do you improve the customer experience to ensure that they truly engage, whether online, email, or even offline? Sometimes customers end up being the ones that you end up developing joint collaborations or strategic alliances with. You and I know that it's easier to retain a customer than to try and get a new one. Focus on how you can retain your customers as opposed to losing them. So that customer relationship is key. It's all about retention. It's keeping them engaged and for long term, for sustainability. As I mentioned, loyalty cards is always a good one. People like to know they're getting something extra. People like to know that that you make them feel special. Some people have competitions. You know what I mean? So there are regular draws, competitions so that people can win prizes or get discounts. Does that mean? Just think that through as to how you'd like to maintain and retain your customers. Okay, thank you. Key activities. Right, about your key activities. This is the most important activities your companies must perform to operate successfully. So, as I say, try to focus here. And what's interesting about the key activities, you're required to create and offer a value proposition. In other words, to reach the markets, maintain customer relationships, and earn revenues. For software makers, key activities include software development. For PC manufacturers like HP, key activities include the supply chain management. And for consultancy like McKinsey, the key activities include problem solving. So the types of activities: production, problem solving, platform, and network. So some of the questions that I'd like to ask you are, what key activities are required to deliver your value propositions, your distribution channels, your customer relationships, and your revenue streams? Okay, so on a day-to-day basis, these could be your key activities. But it's to ensure that you focus on these 4 areas. So you've got to be clear in relation to your key activities. Is it product-based? Are you solving a problem? Do you operate over a platform or a network? Do you need to strengthen any areas here? Okay, do you build it and deliver it? Just be clear on the key activities, okay? At the end of the day, if you don't get this right, your key activities, you don't really have a sustainable business. So if it's about the software development, make sure that it's been tried and tested. I mean, Microsoft, as we know, do that on a regular basis, and they update it on a regular basis. If this is where you're at, this is your sector, you need to ensure that it's thought through, not just at the beginning, but throughout. What are the costs that occur to this? How often? So I can see there's something in the chat. Okay. If everyone's got any questions or comments, if you'd like to put them in the chat, I'm quite happy to take those as well. Okay, let's just move on to the next one. Okay, key resources. Okay, your key resources describe the best important assets required to make your business model work. Okay, about key resources, and it says here, different key resources are needed depending on the type of business model that you're using. So for example, the microchip manufacturer requires a capital intensive product for production facilities, and a microchip designer focuses more on the human resources. So you've got here another example: an adult social care provider requires a qualified and experienced delivery team. The key resources can be physical, financial, intellectual, or, and as it states here, from a staffing human point of view. Key resources can be owned or leased by the company or acquired from key partners. So let's just think through quickly what key resources are required by your value proposition, your distribution channels, customer relationships, and your revenue streams. So it's whether or not things are going to be in-house or outsourced, because most people like to buy things and just get through and keep, use those resources to make the business work. But here we're actually saying in some cases you can lease them. You don't always have to buy them, or you can work with somebody else who has those facilities and you just buy them as and when you need them. So let me just give you, so I'll say a minute now just to write down what your key resources, what are your key resources? Describe what they are, the important assets required to make your business model work. Okay. Human resources, financial, you've got vehicles, intellectual property in this area, whether or not you want to lease it, buy it outright. I have a client who's in the process of actually selling some intellectual property so that he can actually use the funds to put back into the business so that he can expand the business. So what are your key resources? Okay, we're nearly there. I'm just going to move on swiftly now. Key partners. Okay. The key partners are building blocks. It describes a network of the suppliers and partners that make the business model work. Like we always say that no business is an island, so it's in your interest to actually work with others. There's 4 different types of partnerships. You've got your strategic alliances between non-competitors, corporate, I can't say that word, but anyway, strategic partners between competitors. So I suppose it's like cooperations, etc. And joint ventures to develop new businesses, and also your buyer-supplier relationships to ensure reliable supplies. The key areas in the key partnerships, in other words, the motivations for creating partnerships, is the optimization, the economy of scale, reduction of risk and uncertainty, and acquisition of particular resources and activities. Okay, so let me just bring up the questions here. Who are your key partners? Who are your key suppliers? Which key resources are you requiring from your partners? And which key activities your partners perform for you as a business? Okay, so let's just take a minute now just to go through that, just to list those down. I mean, you've the people that you're working with already, but they could be also key partners that you could be thinking of working with. Look at your networks. Who do you belong to or work with? How can you develop these key relationships? Okay, we need to ensure that if you're working with like associates, you complement the skills. The skills are all complement. You know what I mean? They don't compete. So you complement each other. Other partners can include contractors, subcontractors. If you're in the building industry, property developers. Suppliers strengthen those relationships. And it's not just about buying and selling. Sometimes you can actually partner with the suppliers to do a different type or area of the business. What about business owners from different industries? Investors, financial institutions, decision makers, and strategic alliances. Okay. And don't forget of the, as I say, the joint initiatives of joint ventures are always key in that perspective. Now, the cost structure, number 9, your cost structure describes all costs incurred to operate your business model. Okay, so here we want you to describe the most important cost incurred with operating under a particular business model. Some business models, though, are more cost-driven than others. So you've got your broad classes of cost structure, cost-driven, value-driven, hybrid approach. So, and also you've got your cost structure attributes. That's the economies of scale, the economies of scope, fixed costs, and variable costs. So these are the questions to ask yourselves. What are the most important costs inherent in your business model? Okay, which key resources are most expensive and which key activities are most expensive? So let's just spend, say, a minute here just to look at this. Okay. I really want you to be realistic here when listing all the costs, even in some cases, some of the hidden costs. I know we're focused on the main costs, but there are hidden costs that, you know, we may not be aware of. And we tend to put to one side, you know, but are really important. Communication costs is usually one of those. You've got your value-driven costs, focus on adding more value to the product itself at the lowest possible cost. The hybrid, the most cost-effective way of working. Especially now that most companies are giving up the offices. So there's a cost reduction there. And maybe just being online could be the way forward. Okay, so that's the cost structure. So let's just move on to the social and environmental impact benefits. Okay, let's just bring all this up. Okay. Most of you know that as we're moving forward, that social environmental is very, very important, especially if you're bidding for contracts. It's becoming more and more important now than we've ever known. And it just, to demonstrate the social and economic impacts, let's just ask yourselves, do you offer social or environmental impacts in what you do? Okay. And these are some of them listed on the, on the social value listing. So looking at diversity, inclusion, well-being, fair trade. In some cases, put yourselves in this position from a personal point of view. How do you operate daily when you buy things like fair trade? Okay. How do you do your part of the environment? What about eco-friendly or even community engagement? By doing what you do, how can you impact your customers? Now, you have a better chance of winning business if you can clearly demonstrate how you build social value within the business and how it actually affects your business. In other words, what are you giving back to the community? Okay. Okay. So these building blocks are actually interdependent. And so is your strategy. Okay. What this shows here is that every building block depends on each other. Yeah, they do not operate in isolation. The business model canvas helps you to evaluate your business and develop a strategy for your business. Okay. So that's how the model works. We've gone through all 9 building blocks. Okay. Okay, so it is the strategy, that's it. Okay, let me just go through on a case study. Here we have a case study of Ruth Ann and Ian, who attended one of our workshops. As you can see, they actually work in the industry of the pallets yard. And they attended the workshops. They also took advantage of the one-to-one sessions that we at Brandwin offer. And it helped them to actually build and grow their business now to a substantial, sustainable level. So yeah, it just shows that these workshops have been very beneficial to the local businesses. And this is another case study of a couple. Here we were able to equip them with confidence, skills, a lot of the soft skills and information, along with the relevant processes to help them put the processes in place for them applying for bids. The webinars, along with the one-to-ones, again, were able to help them grow their business. So in the, it doesn't even matter which industry you're in, because they're in the cleaning business. As I say, the other business was in the pallets. So you'll find that just by attending these workshops, as well as having the one-to-ones, you will actually benefit. So the business model is a tool, management tool for visualizing, planning, and even reinventing your business activity. It also describes how an idea will create value, because you can actually work it all, map it all out before you actually move forward. The structure of the business model can also be used to develop, adapt an idea, and also to launch new products. So every time you're going to launch something or do something different, just have a separate business model canvas and go through it systematically through all 9 building blocks. And by modifying the language of the business model canvas, we can transform it into an idea canvas for any business sector at all. And it's a starting point, I say, to develop a business plan, a pitch deck, or financial forecasts, especially if you're looking for investment or want to win new business. So a lot of people do the business model canvas first before they do a detailed business plan for funding. So here you see the how, the what, and to whom, and how it's broken down. So it covers all areas and all eventualities for a business. Okay. what I'd like you to do, I mean, you may not be able to create it and do it all now, but taken away from today, what are the top 3 things that you yourself will commit to do in relation to your business? And you may turn around and say, right, I'm going to go and research my customers, I'm going to start developing new products, or I'm going to consider joint initiatives or find joint partners. So we do have an action plan. As I say, just take away 3 areas that you feel that will be very useful for you to do from today. Okay. And just going on now from where, moving on from today, as you see that today is about the business model, the online strategy and innovation. We've got our social media coming up on the 20th of April. For those of you that really want to raise your profile and feel that you want to get out there and let the business be known, I'll definitely suggest that you attend the social media webinar. And then we've got websites that work. Again, that's the 12th of May. And then coming along on the 26th of May is SEO for general, for lead generation. I mean, again, that might be your area, but you'll be able to pick up some useful tips to take your business to the next level. On the 14th of June, we've got the video marketing like YouTube, podcast, TikTok, really up to date and really useful now, especially if you want to add a different way of promoting yourselves. And on the 28th of June, email marketing, shall I say, and including GDPR, which is really relevant, especially nowadays. And that hits us on the 12th of July. So our target is for 20 companies, 2 sessions, 2 one-hour sessions each, and you get an action card at the end of it. So you have a breakdown of what has been discussed through your one-to-ones. Coming up in April is our Women in Business support program. It's free workshops for startups and self-employed women, micro businesses, SMEs in the in the Watford area. And it's over a period of 8 sessions, over 8 weeks, of which we will actually be looking at these areas. And it is a support program, as I say, so we're taking you right back to basics, setting goals, and look at the basics of starting a business, developing your business model canvas, as opposed to the outright old-fashioned big business plan. So we'll, as I say, start from the basics, looking at market research, testing the market, making sure people are aware of the personal survival budget and what they need to bring in before they can even start the business, looking at the finances and the marketing side of things, also including social media. And then at the end of it, we will have a business presentation. And what I like about this program is that we'll actually bring in specialists to talk about their area, and then the women will have the opportunity to actually break it down and go through it step by step and feel more confident moving forward in business. We will have the 1-page practical action plan, which we'll use on the one-to-ones, and this is what you'll actually complete with the advisor when you meet on a one-to-one. Okay, so the next steps. Okay, we'll continue with our digital skills, attend the webinars, and if you want to register via Eventbrite, we will send you the information, and my colleague Nicola will run that. And for the women in business, to commit and attend actively and to participate, again, we'll give you an Eventbrite, and it's just a matter of sending me an email. So I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for being here. Taking time out of your business can be difficult, but if it's worthwhile, and I'll say using the business model canvas is a worthwhile way to take the business to the next level. So thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Nasa. Okay, has anybody got any questions? Okay, no questions at all? All right, then it just leaves me to say thank you very much. And if you're interested in the actual recordings, we'll supply those, but do take advantage of the forthcoming digital skills training and also the Women in Business. Thank you very much. Thank you.